Hello students, today we are going to explain next method of pest control, that is pheromone control. Most of the insects react or responds to the various stimuli, especially the chemicals, and these chemicals induce or stimulate and regulate the insect behaviors. There are four types of chemicals or biochemicals secreted or produced by the variety of insects or males and females of the insects, such as pheromones, allomones, chiromones, and allomon-chiromones. The following description is pertaining to the pheromone control. So, basically, a pheromone is a chemical or a mixture of chemicals released by an animal to the outside in the environment and influences the behavior of receiving individuals of the same species is called as pheromone. So the pheromones are the biochemicals produced by the particular organism to the outside in the form of chemical scent or the chemicals in the form of fumes or in the form of scents. And these chemicals or these chemical scents or the pheromones are having its influence or the effect on the behavior of the individuals of the same species and are called as pheromones. These chemicals are also called as ectohormones. These chemicals are also called as ectohormones. The German chemist Carlson and Butent coined the term pheromone in 1959. Broadly, the pheromones are classified into two groups, such as one, that is the primer effect pheromones. The primer effect pheromones, and these pheromones operate through the gustatory sensilla or the gustatory sensation, that is the sense of taste, and triggers or stimulates a chain of physiological changes in the body of the receiver. In a hymenopteran insects, that is bees and wasps, they regulate the caste determination and the reproduction in the social insects like ants, bees, wasps, and the termites. Since they have no practical value in a pest control. So the primer effect pheromones, which are uh, changing the behavior or regulating or stimulating the certain physiological activities in the body due to the taste only. So these primer effect pheromones operate through the gustatory sensilla, that is the sense of taste, and thus these chemicals or the primer effect pheromones triggers or the stimulates the chain of physiological changes in the body. In case of hymenopteran insects, they regulate hymenopteran insects such as bees and wasps. They regulate the caste determination. Caste determination in the hymenopteran, that is bees and wasps, and the reproduction in a social insects and the reproduction in a social insects such as ants, bees, and wasps belonging to order Hymenoptera, and the termites. These are also the social insects but belonging to order Isoptera. Since the primer effect pheromones regulating the physiological changes inside the body of the respective organism or the same species, and that's why these are not of much importance as far as the pest control is concerned, since they have no practical value in the pest control. This is because they are working or acting, these are working or acting, these pheromones, that is primer effect pheromones, are working or acting inside of the body of the respective organism, and that's why it is not having much importance in the pest control. The second type of pheromones, that is the releaser effect pheromones. The releaser effect pheromones, these pheromones operate through the olfactory sensilla or the olfactory sensation, that is the sense of smell. So these pheromones, when released outside from the body of particular organism or the insect, these pheromones will spread in the atmosphere in the form of gas or in the form of fumes or the vapors, in the form of sense of smell. So these pheromones, that is the releaser effect pheromones, they operate through the olfactory sensilla or sense of smell and regulates the behavior of the insects and these are having practical value in the pest control and they are of following types. So there are four type of pheromones which are released by the insects in the form of sense of smell. These are the olfactory, means these pheromones react or act or work in the form of sense of smell. So the second or releaser effect pheromones, the second type of pheromones, that is the releaser effect pheromones, these operate through the olfactory sensation, that is the sense of smell, and thus the pheromones released from the insects to the outside will spread in the atmosphere in the form of a gas or the fumes or the vapors and having ability or the capacity to regulate the behavior of insects of the same species, and that's why these are having practical value in the pest control. There are four types of the releaser effect pheromones such as sex pheromones, aggregation pheromones, alarm pheromones, and the trail pheromones. So there are four type of the releaser effect pheromones or second type of pheromones which are having uh, certain value in the pest control, and there are of four types. One, that is the sex pheromone, second is aggregation pheromone. Sex pheromones means these are related with these scents. Sex pheromones are responsible for either the mating behavior or breeding activities or the reproduction of the organisms or the individuals of the same species. Means they are having ability to change the behavior or to influence the behavior with respect to the reproduction or breeding activities or the mating behavior. Then second type, that is aggregation pheromones. These pheromones are usually useful for the aggregation or congregation of the organisms or the insects of the same species. Means this influences or this leads to the aggregation of the individuals of the same species at a particular spot, and this happens due to the aggregation pheromones. Means large number of members or the individuals of the same species will come together at a point due to the influence of the aggregation pheromones. Then alarm pheromones. So there are again certain pheromones or the chemical scents released by certain organisms or the pest or the insects in the surrounding atmosphere or in the surrounding area, and which will sensitize the members or the individuals of the same species so as to indicate some critical situation or the problematic situation or the some sort of adverse condition so as to uh, indicate indicate some sort of alarming situation or problematic or the critical conditions of the environment which will become harmful to the species, and that's why the certain organisms which first get sensitized or stimulated, by the stimulus of certain alarmic condition, critical condition, problematic condition in the surrounding area, they secretes or produce the alarm pheromones. So with the sensation or with the influence of these alarm pheromones, the members of the same species get stimulated and will work or act or react according to the stimulus provided by the alarm pheromones to the members of the same species. So ultimately, this will indicate some problematic situation or the adverse condition or the harmful condition. There may be the attack of enemies or presence of enemies around the particular organism. So at that time, so as to indicate the problematic situation or the critical condition or the attack of the enemies, to indicate this message or to provide or to pass or to convey this message to other members of the same species, certain organisms or the insect, they secretes or produce the alarm pheromones. Then another fourth type of pheromone, that is a trail pheromones. So trail pheromones are again certain chemicals produced by one of the member of the insect, uh, which moves forward, and these trail pheromones may be in the form of intermittent or continuous line of the chemical produced and secreted behind the uh, the particular organism or the organism which secretes or produce this trail pheromone in the form of a line or in the form of spots or intermittent spots or maybe a continuous line, so as to indicate the particular way so as to reach the particular spot or its final destination. So the trail pheromones are in the form of a line, continuous line, or the intermittent spots of the chemicals released or produced and released by the particular individual or the insect, so as to follow the particular way by other members. So there are four type of the releaser effect pheromones, that is the sex pheromones, aggregation pheromones, alarm pheromones, and the trail pheromones, which we can effectively exploit or use for the control of pest of the same species. Means for the aggregation or collection of the either male members or the female members or members of both sexes at one point, so as to collect them, aggregate them, and after which we can use certain certain other control measure like chemical control measure to kill them. So the releaser effect pheromones can be used for the purpose of pest control. Then first we'll explain the first type of pheromone, that is the sex pheromones. These are mostly released by the females. Sex pheromones, these are mostly released by the females but affect the behavior of the individuals of both the sexes, that is males and females of same species. Sex pheromones are usually released by the females, adult females, but the effect of uh, this particular sex pheromone influences or affecting the behavior of the or changing the behavior of the individuals of both the sexes of the same species. The male sex pheromones is of lesser value. The male sex pheromone is of lesser value and acts at a short range. So the male sex pheromones which are released by the male members having a shorter range of its stimulation uh, of the other members of the same species than the female sex pheromone which act at a longer range and excites the male to copulate and are called as sex attractants. So the female sex pheromones which are having its action or the effect up to a longer distance or a longer range and exciting or attracting the male members for the purpose of copulation and thus are called as sex attractants or the lurants. For example, gossip lure or gyp lure, gyptol, bombicol, loop lure, queen substance. So these are the examples. These are the examples of the sex attractants. The glands that produce the pheromones are called as exocrine glands because these are ectodermal in origin and they open and release their products to the outside of body, and such glands are called as exocrine glands. So in case of all insects which are secreting the pheromones, and the pheromones are the product of the ectodermal glands or the exocrine glands, and which is released to the outside in the form of scents, chemical scent, or in the form of vapors or the fumes. The insect order Lepidoptera, Orthoptera, Dictyoptera, Diptera, Coleoptera, Hymenoptera, Hemiptera, Neuroptera, etc. have been recorded for the sex pheromone producer. So these are the different orders of the class Insecta which are secreting or the producing the sex pheromones which will uh, excite or stimulate the members of the same species so as to undergo the breeding activities. So the male members and the female members both are secreting or producing the sex pheromones. But the female sex pheromones are of great importance so as to attract the male members so as to facilitate the process of copulation or mating so as to satisfy uh, the breeding activities or so as to complete the process of reproduction. For example, male moth of the Bombyx mori. So this is the silk moth Bombyx mori. Male moth Bombyx mori are known to have been attracted to a trap baited with the female sex pheromone from a distance as long as 2 miles or more. And this particular sex pheromone used in a trap. So the trap containing the insect trap containing uh, the sex pheromone that is bombicol. Bombicol. Since the genus species Bombyx mori, the name is bombicol. So the sex pheromone bombicol, which is bombicol, the sex pheromone bombicol, which is secreted by the female silk moth, silk female silk moth of the genus species Bombyx mori, can attract the adult male members for the mating purpose from a distance of 2 miles or more. So this is what the effect. This is the effect of a scent or a biochemical in the form of sex pheromone produced by female adult moth of the Bombyx mori having ability to attract or to call the male members of the same species, that is Bombyx mori, from a distance of more than 2 miles so as to undergo the process of breeding or reproduction. So bombicol is the name given to the pheromone produced by the female silk moth of the Bombyx mori. Sex pheromones have a large number of carbon atoms. Sex pheromones have a large number or a chain of carbon atoms, that is from 10 to 20, and with a high molecular weight of 180 to 300 daltons. So these are the sex pheromones having much complex type of molecular formula or chemical formula with a chain of 10 to 20 carbon atoms and with a high molecular weight of up to 180 to 300 daltons. So the sex pheromone. So with the help of bombicol, with the help of sex pheromone like bombicol, we can collect the male members of the Bombyx mori from a longer distance. So there are different type of insects or the pest which are also producing such type of biochemical in the form of sex attractants, and these chemicals can be used for the purpose of collecting the uh, male or females for collection or aggregation of the males and females at a particular spot. So we can use sex hormones of the particular type so as to collect or so as to attract the males or the females of the particular species so as to uh, collect them and later on can be killed by using the certain other control measure. Then second type of pheromone, that is aggregation pheromones. These pheromones induce or the stimulate aggregation or the congregation, that is collection or uh, collecting or aggregating large number of individuals or the insects of the same species, either for purpose of protection, reproduction, and the feeding, or the combinations of uh, one or two activities, that is protection, reproduction, or reproduction and feeding. So for that purpose we can collect these insects or the pest by using the aggregation pheromone that will induce or stimulate the members of the same species, and this will help in congregation or aggregation of the large number of insects together, and after which this can be killed if they are pest. So the aggregation pheromones induce the aggregation or congregation of the insects, and these insects come together, uh, might be for the protection purpose, reproduction purpose, or the feeding purpose. But we can catch them, trap them, and can kill them after their aggregation. So if they are pest, we can kill them when they will come together in a large number. So ultimately this will help in a suppression or a reduction in a pest population. So sex pheromones, second type is aggregation pheromone. So these aggregation pheromones are reported in a order Coleoptera, pentatomid big bugs, Dictyoptera, that is Periplaneta americana. So aggregation pheromones are largely used. Aggregation pheromones are largely used in the pest control for mating or continued feeding for some time, and which results the misbehavior, that is unoriented movements, and after those insects are collected and killed. So with the use of particular chemical or the aggregation pheromone, we can collect the insects of the pest category together, either for purpose of feeding or mating, but after which we can collect them and kill them because of uh, uh, their harmful nature, which might be a pest attacking or causing loss or damage of the certain crops. Some common examples of the aggregation pheromones are frontalin, secreted by Dendroctonus, then ipsinol by IPC, then periplanone, that is the secretion of periplaneta, and dimethyl decanol, secretion of the tribolium, that is the fluor beetle, red fluor beetle, tribolium, belonging to order Coleoptera. So, periplanone secreted by the periplaneta, that is cockroach, belonging to order Dictyoptera. And the first two, they are um, examples of the bugs. So frontalin, ipsinol, periplanone, or dimethyl decanol, these are the aggregation pheromones secreted by different groups of the insects, and which can be used for the purpose of pest control. Then third type of pheromone called as alarm pheromones. Alarm pheromones are primarily an anti-predator device, a warning to a member of the same species. So, alarm pheromones, when released by the particular insect or a member of the particular type, that will pass a message so as to provide the warning or the indication to the members of the same species with respect to presence or attack of enemy or the predator present in the particular area, or might be in a close communication. There may be the enemies or the predator which are present around the particular insect, which get first sensitized with the, or who have first noticed the presence of predator which might attack uh, on the particular insect, and that's why it can secrete a pheromone called as alarm pheromone. So alarm pheromones are primarily an anti-predator device. So whenever there is a predator present in the vicinity of the particular insect, can secrete this alarm pheromone so as to warn or so as to indicate the presence of enemy or attack of the enemy or predator, and at that time it secretes a alarm pheromone, so members of the same species get sensitized or get idea about the presence of enemy or predator or attack of the enemies, and this warning of the alarm pheromone elicits or the stimulates different behavior in a different insects. For example, dispersion or escape in aphids and bugs. So whenever the aphids secreting the alarm pheromone, this will lead to the escape or dispersion or the spread of the aphids and bugs. Then dispersion when foraging or feeding away from the nest. Dispersion when foraging and feeding. When the insects which are undergoing the feeding activities or foraging, so which are when present away from the nest, will also get dispersed. And aggression when inside the nest in ants, or attraction towards the source of emission in a wasp. Attraction towards the source of emission or the message or the alarm pheromone which has been released by a particular insect. So ultimately, in case of wasp, the wasp get attracted, towards the a wasp which has produced or secreted or released the alarm pheromone. So ultimately, the in case of wasp, on release of alarm pheromone, other members of the same species of the wasp get attracted towards the member who has emitted or released the alarm pheromone. And worker bees and aggressors, and means attraction towards the source of emission in wasp and worker bees, and aggression in a soldiers of the termites. Aggression means they become violent or aggressive and will in the state of attack onto the enemies or the predators whatever present in the vicinity. So in case of termites, soldiers of the termites, they shows aggression and become violent or aggressive so as to attack on the respective predator. So there are different type of alarm pheromones secreted by different species and having varied uh, type of change in behavior or different different type of changes uh, shown in their behavior. The attack, the attack by the worker bees generally results in a sting autotomy that guarantees marking of the enemy by the presence of odoriferous sting apparatus fortified by alarm pheromone. So in case of worker bees, that is honey bees, when there is an allergic situation or a problematic condition like attack of enemies or presence of enemies around the honeybee colony, at that time the worker bees secretes or produce or release the alarm pheromones from the sting apparatus, that is odoriferous sting apparatus, that is releasing the alarm pheromone in the colony or around the colony. So this will draw or this will stimulate other bees of the colony to identify and attack the enemy by stinging or biting, or in either case releasing the alarm pheromones. So whenever there is an enemy present around the honeybee colony, the worker bees, they release the alarm pheromone from the odoriferous sting apparatus. Means sting apparatus of the worker bees can release the alarm pheromone, and this will convey the message regarding the presence or attack of the enemies in the honeybee colony. At that time, other members of the workers of the honeybee colony get stimulated or elicited or excited due to the alarm pheromone, and then the other members or the worker bees will then attack the enemies and by performing stinging activity or biting activity so as to kill or so as to fight against the predators. So this is what about the alarm pheromones. Then alarm pheromones have been reported in a Homoptera, Isoptera, Hymenoptera insect orders. So insect orders, that is Homoptera, which includes aphids, Isoptera, which includes termites, Hymenoptera, which includes bees, ants, and wasps. Honeybees, ants, and the wasp are the examples of the order Hymenoptera, Isoptera, termites, and Homoptera, that is aphids. So, alarm pheromones have been reported or produced by Homoptera, Isoptera, and Hymenoptera, and this pheromone is produced by different organs, such as a pair of cornicles or siphon near the tip of the abdomen in aphids. So, aphids are having two cornicles present on either sides of the or lateral sides of the abdomen in case of aphids, which secretes the alarm pheromone. Then abdominal terga or the dorsal plates of the abdomen in case of red cotton bug secreting alarm pheromone. Then cephalic glands or the head glands secreting the alarm pheromones in the termites. Then mandibular glands and the sting apparatus, mandibular glands and the sting apparatus of the worker bees secreting the alarm pheromones. So chemical nature of the alarm pheromones, chemical nature of the alarm pheromones means chemically the alarm pheromones are Chemically, the alarm pheromones are terpenes in aphids, aldehydes in hemipterans, that is bugs, then alkyl and alkenyl acetates in case of honeybee sting glands, then 2-heptanone honeybee mandibular glands. So, honeybee mandibular glands secreting alarm pheromone, which is chemically 2-heptanone, and the sting apparatus secreting alarm pheromone in case of honeybee contains alkyl and alkenyl acetates. Then ethyl methyl ketones and the formic acid in ants. In case of ants, the alarm pheromones containing ethyl methyl ketones and the formic acid, and monoterpene and monoterpene hydrocarbons in case of termite soldiers. So these are the different type of insects which are secreting different type of alarm pheromones, which are different chemically and also showing uh, different type of changes in the behavior of the members of the same species. Then fourth type of pheromone, that is the trail pheromones. So pheromones so far acts through the medium of the air or the atmosphere, so called as aerial trail pheromones. So when the pheromones which are released in the atmosphere or in the air, called as aerial trail pheromones. But the pheromones released in the form of intermittent, that is the spots, or a continuous line or trails on a solid substrate or on the land might be. So on land or on a substrate, when the pheromones are released, either intermittent, that is in the form of drops, or a continuous line on the substrate, that will also form a trail that will also form a trail and ultimately the members of the same species get sensitized with these trail hormones, either intermittent or a continuous line on the land or the substrate will follow the individual or the insect which is releasing the trail pheromone. Or in case of atmosphere, there may be a chemical scent or the trail pheromone released in the air or in the atmosphere by the particular organism, maybe insect or a bird. Even the birds, they can also secrete a certain trail pheromone in the form of chemical scent. So, the members of the same species might be the birds or the insects will follow the particular trail so as to reach up to the particular final destination. So this will represent the trail of the pheromone secreted or produced or released by birds or insects in the atmosphere or on the substrate indicates uh, the way or a track indicates the way or a track or a road that will be followed by other members of the same species. So pheromones so far act through the medium of the air, so called as aerial trail pheromones, as in birds or some insects which are released in the air or the atmosphere, but will form a trail behind. So that will be followed by the members of the same species. Then some pheromones which are released in the form of intermittent or continuous lines or trails on the solid substrate, the trail followers pursue it by their antennae and to reach the destination, which could be a mate or a source of food, are called as terrestrial trail pheromones. Terrestrial trail pheromones. So there are certain insects which are releasing the trail pheromones on the substrate in the form of spots or in the form of continuous line. So other members of the same species can get its idea by their sense organs or olfactory organs like antennae and will pursue the particular chemical sense in the form of trail and then will follow the particular insect which has released the respective pheromone in the form of a trail behind. So ultimately the followers perceiving its message or its stimulus or sensation and will reach to the final spot or a place where they can either get a mate or a food, or this might be a food source. So ultimately will reach up to the particular spot or a final destination which could be a mate or a source of food, and thus such type of trail pheromones are called as terrestrial trail pheromones. In case of social or migrating insects, this pheromone maintains the cohesion and social integration of the colony. We know the example of the honeybees, that is a queen substance, the queen bee secreting a mixture of chemicals, mixture of complex mixture or complex of number of chemicals called as chemical substance, and which will be responsible for the cohesion keeping all members of the colony together for the cohesion purpose in case of social insect, that is honeybees. So in case of social insects or migrating insects like honeybees, this pheromone maintains the cohesion and social integration of the colony. So, since the queen bee secreting a queen substance, with the help of this queen substance or a pheromones, different chemicals secreted by or produced by the queen bee in the colony of particular species will help to keep all members, workers, drones, queen, all of which live together in the form of colony. So, cohesion or integration of the colony will occur or will be maintained or managed by the queen substance or pheromones produced by the queen bee in the honeybee colony. Organs producing these hormones are sternal glands in termites. Organs producing these these pheromones, organs producing these hormones or pheromones are sternal glands in termites, Dupfer's gland, Pawan's gland, poison gland, rectal gland, and tibial glands in ants and other species. So these are the some of the organs which produce the either pheromones or the hormones which are useful to change the behavior or to convey the particular type of stimulus to the members of the same species. So organs producing these hormones are sternal glands in termites, Dupfer's gland, Pawan's gland, poison gland, rectal gland, and the tibial glands in ants and other species. The chemical nature of these pheromones, the chemical nature of the trail pheromones are caproic acid in a Zootermopsis species. Zootermopsis species having trail pheromones which are chemically caproic acids. Then 368 dodecatrinol 368 dodecatrinol reticuliterms species reticuliterms species reticulitermi species which secretes the trail pheromones which are chemically 368 dodecatrinol, then hexanoic, heptanoic, decanoic, pentanoic acids, etc. So these are the different type of chemicals which are in the form of trail pheromones secreted by different species of the insects. So this is about the trail pheromones. Sex pheromones can be utilized in two ways in insect pest control. So, sex pheromones can be used in a two ways in insect pest control, that is in a population survey and in a behavioral manipulation. So, with the help of sex pheromones, we can use them in a pest control practices for the purpose of determining or to find out the population, that is the total number of the pest, that is the survey of the population, that is to find out or to measure the total number of the pest population or survey, and also in a behavioral manipulation, that is a change in a behavior. So I have to change the behavior of the pest. So sex pheromones can be utilized in a two ways in insect pest control, that is in a population survey and secondly in a behavioral manipulation. Behavioral manipulation helps to render or to make the pest harmless. Behavioral manipulation, with the help of behavioral manipulation, we can make the pest harmless or we can make the pest less harmful to the crops. We can make the pest harmless or less harmful to the crops. So the such type of manipulation can be made in the behavior of the pest. Then this can be done by two ways. Stimulation of normal approach response. Stimulation of normal approach response, that is attraction, and second, that is disruption of chemical communication between the sexes. So, with the help of these two activities, that is attraction attraction of the pest uh, attraction of the pest individuals to a particular spot so as to collect and kill them. Then disruption of the chemical communication, disruption of the or interfere uh, making making interference by producing the interference like activity so as to disrupt the chemical communication of the males and females. So communication between the sexes can be disrupted or interrupted by using the sex pheromones. So sex pheromones can be used for the two purposes, that is attraction and second disruption of the chemical communication between the two sexes. So by this way we can use the sex pheromones for the purpose of pest control. Then next type of pest control practice, seventh, that is concept of integrated pest management. Integrated pest management. So it is defined as the pest management system. It is defined as the pest management system that is utilized, that is utilized for the control of the pest. It is defined as the pest management system where we can use all possible, compatible, and suitable techniques and the methods for the pest populations below the economic injury level. So, concept of integrated pest management means the use of almost all utilization or the use of almost all possible pest control techniques, use of almost all or possible pest control techniques at a time so that the pest can be controlled or maintained or managed below economic injury level. So, the integrated pest management is defined as the pest management system that use that is used or all possible, compatible or suitable techniques and the methods of the pest control so as to maintain the pest population below economic injury level. According to Smith and Allen in 1954, the integrated pest control to manage pest population is called as IPM. According to Smith and Allen, 1954, the integrated pest control to manage the pest population is called as IPM. The IPM aims, the integrated pest management aims to combination of all available methods or tools of the insect control in a legal manner to minimize the pesticide use and disturbance to the ecosystem. So another purpose or the aim of the integrated pest management is to use use lesser quantity of the pesticides and lesser disturbance to the ecosystem due to the adverse type of chemicals or the pesticides in the ecosystem or in the environment. So the IPM aims to the combination of all available methods or the tools of the insect control in a legal manner to minimize the pesticide use and disturbance to the ecosystem. According to Bartlett in 1956, integrated pest control IPC is the blending of biological control agents with the intervention or with the use of chemical control. In short, all available techniques are evaluated and considered into a unified program of the pest control. So integrated pest control can be a blending of biological control and the chemical control. Means at the same time we can use the two control measures, that is biological control method and the chemical control method for the pest control. And or otherwise all available techniques are evaluated and considered into a unified program of the pest control. In short, Integrated pest management or integrated pest control includes cultural control, mechanical control, biological control, and the chemical control together. So, at a time, we can use all possible methods or whatever the possible methods of the pest control that can be employed at a time so as to control the pest, so as to control the pest or so as to manage the pest below the economic injury level. So for this purpose, integrated pest management or the integrated pest control method means one can use or employ several possible methods of the pest control at a time. And this includes even cultural control, mechanical control, biological control, or chemical control. So, almost all control measures can be employed at a time. So, whatever the methods which we can use at a particular time that could be utilized so that the pest population can be managed or controlled below economic injury level. So, simply the integrated pest management or a concept of integrated pest management or concept of integrated pest control is to use the all possible methods or whatever the possible methods of the pest control can be employed at a time for the control of the pest. So this is what about the integrated pest management. Then autocidal control. The term pest derived from Greek word pestis means to annoy. So the organisms or the insects or non-insects, that is vertebrates or invertebrates, which are supposed to be a pest, which cause the annoyance or which are harmful to the variety of crops, and thus the term pest is derived from Greek word pestis. Pestis means to annoy. So the pest are the organisms which are destructive or harmful and causing damage or loss of the agricultural crops. To overcome the problem of the pest, to overcome the problem of pest of agricultural crops, one of the control method in use or is used, uh, that is autocidal control or a genetic control, which is also called as sterilization technique. So auto means self. So the individuals of the same species, members of the same species of the pest can be used for the control of the same pest. That is autocidal. Auto means self, sidus means to kill. So autocidal control involves either genetic control, which might be called as a sterilization technique, which is also called as sterilization technique or a male sterile male technique, sterile male technique. So autocidal control or the method involves the use of sterile insects to reduce the population of the pest. In this method, X-rays, gamma rays, irradiation, that is exposure of the male members or the female members will be exposed to the irradiation technique or irradiation activity, that is exposure of the males or females to the X-rays or the gamma rays or a particular energies like alpha and beta particles. So alpha particles, beta particles, X-rays or the gamma rays or even certain chemicals called as chemostimulants can be used for the sterilization of the males or the females of the particular type of pest. Means the particular type of pest, whatever will be manipulated or transformed into sterile individuals, where we can use the particular pest and that is exposed. The particular pest, male or female or both, can be exposed to the X rays, gamma rays, or alpha and beta particles or to the certain chemostimulants so that sterile so that making them sterile, so as to make them sterile, and for that purpose the pest, that is male members or the female members or the both sexes, can be exposed to irradiation, that is X-ray, gamma ray, alpha or beta particles, or we can use chemostimulants so as to achieve the sterility, so as to make the individuals or the pest sterile. So the X-ray and gamma irradiation, particulate energy in the form of alpha and beta particles are employed or used to bring about the sterility and resultant control of the pest. So the certain chemicals called as chemosterilants are also used to bring about the sterility. The scientist, namely Dr. E. F. Knipling, observed the mating behavior of the Cochleomia hominiorax, a major livestock pest or animal pest, and its monogamous behavior could be profitably used for its control if the males are sterilized without impairing any biological behavior. So that was nippling. That was Knipling, that is Dr. E. F. Knipling, who first observed the mating behavior of the Quackleomia hominiorax, which is a major livestock pest or the animal pest, and its monogamous monogamous behavior, which will be successfully used for its control if the males are sterilized without impairing any biological behavior. Means that was Knipling who first tried or used a sterile male technique for the purpose of pest control. So, according to this technique, if fully competitive sterile males are released in the natural population, it will reduce the potential of the natural population in the same ratio as sterile to fertile, and if the instance ratio sterile to fertile, that is sterile to fertile ratio, if is 1:1, both sterile and fertile males will have equal chance of mating with the wild females. So, with the help of with the help of sterile male technique, we can release the sterile males in a fertile population. So, ultimately, this will reduce the rate of reproduction of the pest population. In such a way, we can use the sterile male technique, uh, and the sterility in the males or the females can be achieved by exposing them to the X-rays, gamma rays or alpha and beta particles, or may be treated with certain chemosterilants, and will thus bring about the sterility in the males or females in a pest category of insects, can be treated or can be exposed to the chemosterilants or the irradiation of the X-ray, gamma ray, alpha and beta particles, and will lead to the sterility, and this will ultimately reduce the pest population by inhibiting the fertile matings, by inhibiting the rate of fertile mating. So sterile individuals, males or females, can mate with the fertile males, and this will ultimately reduce the pest population in the particular region. So autocidal control, where one can use the sterile male technique for the reduction in a pest population successfully. So this is what about the different methods of the pest control. Uh, so today we'll stop here with this sterile male technique. Or for example, we can use the sterile fertile ratio, that is 9:1, then the control would be of 90%. This technique is now known under SIRM, that is sterile insect release method. Sterile insect release method, where both males and females are sterilized and released in every generation. So this is another example of the sterile male technique. So the ratio of sterile male to female, sterile male to fertile male, or sterile to fertile ratio might be 1:1, or it might be a 9:1. So sterile individuals 9 and one individual fertile. So this will lead to 90% of uh, sterile meetings. This will lead to 90% of the sterile meeting. So the chance of fertile mating will only be a 10%. So sterile male technique, sterile insect technique. This technique involves the sterilization of a proportion of the wild population itself, both males and females, by using chemostimulants. So with the help of chemostimulants, we can uh, make the sterile individuals, or we can bring about the sterility in case of both the sexes, that is males and females. And this will bring about two effects, that is the percentage of sterilized insects cannot reproduce, and secondly it will affect the same proportion of the insects. So this can affect the same proportion of the fertile insects. So sterilized males and females of the wild population will in turn nullify the reproductive capacity of a proportionate number of fertile individuals in the population by competing with them. So if the sterile fertile ratio is 9:1, for example, if the sterile fertile ratio is 9:1, then the control would be 90%. So ultimately, 90% of the uh, breeding rate or the reproduction rate will be inhibited. 90% of the pest population cannot reproduce because of the combination or the mating of the sterile and the fertile individuals up to 90%. Thus, if 90% of the population is sterilized, if the 90% of population is sterilized, so 90% population would not reproduce. And out of the remaining fertile 10% population, only 1% would be expected to have fertile mating because of 90% of it is sterilized. So because of 90% of sterile individuals in a, a fertile population of 10%, so the chances or the probability of the fertile mating will remain only 1%. When we release 90% sterile population, males or females, in a fertile population, so fertile population will be only 10%, and among these 10%, the 90% of the sterile population or the insects can mate with a 10% fertile population. So chances or the probability of fertile mating is only 1%. Out of 10%, again 90% matings will be sterile, and there is a chance of only 1% fertile mating. So this will be very much useful. This will be very much useful in a reduction of pest population due to the release of sterile males or females in a fertile population or in a wild population. Thus, a total of 90 plus 9, that is 99% of the insect population would fail to have fertile mating. Thus, a total of 90 plus 9, that is 99% of insect population would fail to have fertile mating. So this is what the effect of release of as large as sterile males or the females released in a wild population or in a fertile population so as to reduce the chances of their reproduction, so as to prevent the chances of their reproduction due to release of vast number of sterile members, males or females, that is 90% members, males or females, when released in the wild population, there will be a chance of fertile mating will be only 1%. And below there is a nippling serum model that is not of much importance. So one can keep in mind that sterile males or the sterile females, when released into the fertile population, that will affect badly or that will reduce the number of fertile matings, and ultimately this will check or control the reduction in a pest population due to lack of fertile matings due to release of sterile individuals of the particular pest. So this is what about the pest control practices. Next time we'll explain the plant protection appliances or the pesticide appliances. Till then, bye. Thank you.